Welcome to Without a Candle. We are your hosts,
Hey guys, I'm Carla.
and I'm Carly. Let's just jump on in, shall we?
Good morning, guys. It's Carla here with the podcast Without a Candle. I know things look a little different this morning because I don't have Carly by my side. In recent conversations, we have come to the conclusion that there's way more episodes and way more information to share. And sometimes us lining up schedules is tricky to do all the things, right? So we've got to divide and conquer. And with that, I'm just going to go jump right on into introducing our long-term friend, client, friend, and just one of the people I get really excited. I mean, like, I'm kind of sad that you're not here because I'd love to just squeeze you, right? That we have such an, not odd in a bad way, but for knowing so little of each other, I feel like we have a crazy cool connection. So I'm going to give a few minutes, let Liz introduce herself as what she would like you guys to know of her. So good morning, Liz.
Hello.
Yay!
Hi. So I'm Liz. I have known Carla since 2023, I feel like. I remember the first time I met her, I was not in a great place. I was in tears and just absolute wreck, and just kind of in this weird transition of, am I able to kind of move forward, or am I going to be stuck in this place? And it was just this amazing connection that I had with Carla. And I realized that she had a really awesome shop in Cynthiana, which was almost serendipitous because I'm a paramedic and I worked in Cynthiana my whole career on the ambulance in Cynthiana. So I thought that was extremely neat, and that's really how our connection started. But yeah,
It's crazy. Like, I'm kind of squishy today. Today's been, and that's the real of it too, right? Today has been just filled with gratitude already, and it's a mere 10 after 10 in the morning, and I've already been through, so much of this emotion around not just how far I have come as a person, the shop has come as a person, and how far Carly has come as a person. But I can reflect back on the community, and holy shit, like, we have all grown up together, it feels like, and in such at such a warp speed. And I hope you guys can tell that these are happy tears. Like, I'm not doing the whole ugly cry kind of thing if I can find my words. But it was really just, like when we met, for me, it was really it's like, oh, here's another sister, right? Like, here's another friend. And it doesn't matter how much time passes. We pick up, even if it's just for 3 or 4 minutes, like the last time you were here, like nothing ever happened in between. It's just some kind of magical, I don't know. And I feel like sometimes those moments are cherished more when there is such time and space separating the physical beings of the conversation and that side of things, right? But Liz, you have done, and I mean, even before we met, like, I know it's hard to remember all the great, right? As you look back and see how much you've grown, but you have been on this life path of amazing shit. Like, and you just had to go through a little bit of shit, like, to continue to excel forward and continue to do. There were growing pains, right? So, do you want to share, a little bit of like what you do, like what your passion is?
Yeah. So I when you were talking, it almost reminded me of, the tower. The tower must
Yeah.
fall, and
Cool.
you must go through all the things, and you
Yeah.
must be able to face the I've had a pretty rocky road. And when you get to a point where, you've kind of fallen into the depths of hell, and then you have climbed your way out, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I'm out. And then you're faced with things of, maybe you're not meant to be in this space, or you're not meant to continue on this path. This was great for the time that you had it, and you've learned and you've grown, but maybe you need to find yourself in the process of that. And I think that's what that time when I met you, that's where I was, of you can't continue on with this path here. And at that time, I was a program director for a school for a paramedic program. And at that, in taking on that role, that was something I never thought I would even be able to do. I am a person in recovery. I have 10 years sober, and, coming from the depths of addiction and homelessness and absolutely losing everything. You never imagine that not only are you going to get out of that hole and you're going to get better physically and mentally away from the addiction, but you really never imagine that you're going to be able to actually build a career, and you're actually going to be able to make something of yourself. It was really just about, can I maintain, or, can I just, work this job and just maintain? And I got to a point where I really wanted to push myself into something new and really pay it forward for the person that saved me, which was a paramedic, which is why I wanted to become a paramedic. And I worked on the streets in Cynthiana on the ambulance, paying it forward and helping those in need. And I had a really cool opportunity to run the program that helped me become a paramedic. And I thought, wow, this is it. This is the top, right? This is exactly what I need to do. And I did a lot of really cool things in that program. Especially when it came down to, highly stigmatized patient populations, because, during my time when I was in school, as well as becoming a provider, I saw a huge disconnect and between that population. That they were treated just a little bit different than everybody else, that we were more frustrated to deal with these patients than we were with everybody else. And I had a really hard time with that because, that was me. And for a long time,
the lack of compassion, really.
Absolutely. Okay. And just lack of compassion, just whether it was, being a little rougher with them physically, or maybe that was just being outright rude. I've seen it all. And for a long time, I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to blur the lines of people knowing that dark, seedy past of mine. And then I finally was respected, and I didn't want to be judged again. So it took a long time to speak up, but I realized, you're no better than them if you don't say anything. You're part of it if you just stand back and stay quiet. So that was really the kind of kickstart to that. And within the program, I, developed clinical rotations so they got more familiar and had just a basic understanding. And we just had a lot of candid conversations, and I could see the change in these students. But within this program, I was very grateful for that time, and I was grateful for the people at the time because they really did pull me in like family. But the problem with that sometimes becomes that line does get blurred, and they may take advantage of your kindness and the fact that you're trying so hard to make something of yourself. So when that happens, you take on too much. And when you say, hey, I need help here, I am drowning, and you get no help with that, that's where I ended up in the position where I saw you. It was just this, oh my God, I finally made it to this spot, and I have this respected position, and now I hate it. I'm drowning. I'm getting no help, and I don't see the value or the joy in it like I used to. And
yourself, right? Because in the moment, it's easy to there's a struggle there, right? And you had mentioned, blurring those lines, that you don't want to be judged in that same way again for your past. But then you also are caught with the situation of like, well, what do I do about it? Right.
Yeah.
And so that creates a lot of turmoil inside, mentally, emotionally, spiritually speaking. That's just exhausting. Right.
Yeah.
So, and a little bit of that, we talk a lot about ego here in the shop and on the podcast, and it's not what most people think, right? It's not about the egotistical, dominance kind of thing. It's more of like the inner, words. I don't know right now. But anyway, if you've listened to other podcasts or other people listen to podcasts, they can kind of, fill in the blanks there for me. But there comes a decision there. I can stay not quite content, but it's not all that bad. Or do I let go and see what the next level of uncomfortableness is? Because uncomfortable barely describes the next part of your journey, the next part of finding yourself. So do you want to share a little bit about how that looked and what are some techniques and things that you found to help you along that journey?
Yeah, I think just being cognizant of it's going to be uncomfortable before you're going to make a change. And nobody wants to feel the uncomfortability and nobody wants to go through that. Nobody wants the tower moment to happen. It's never fun when it does, right?
Right.
You're just like, man, I don't want to go through anything else. Like I've already done that. I don't want to keep having to rebuild again. I've already done that. And I don't know what it was, but for some, when I met you, you had, it was just this calming way of, it was almost like it's time to pick up your big girl pants and we can do this and it's going to be okay. And the world's not going to crumble and wherever you're supposed to be is where you're supposed to be. And for some reason, I'm like, yeah, I am not happy where I am. I'm not going to continue to let people pleasing tendencies continue. I need to grow. I know I was put in a situation where I needed to break through that because that was harming me more than it was helping me. And I made some tough decisions. I didn't know what was going to happen. I randomly, I didn't want my mental health to suffer because of a career,
Yeah.
So I quit.
Yeah.
I quit on a Tuesday night and I had no plan whatsoever. And it was super scary, but it all, it ended up working out. I ended up, finding a place to kind of start. And, I went under a hospital system and a leader that was, although a new leader, was willing to kind of bring me on, knowing that
I'm going to pause just for a second because I really honor and respect ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
In situations, especially shitty situations where you can see how altering some of your personality traits to serve others created that harm, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't all on you. And I don't remember if this is the time frame or you're about to share the time frame. You were bullied. Like at one point you were, and I don't like to use the word, you were a victim of someone that's not mine to share. But it wasn't all just you. So you had to really step up to the plate and remind people who Liz is, what Liz has done, what Liz is capable of doing. You had to own that power. You had to own that. Okay, go ahead, share.
Yeah, so that it was a scary time, and where a lot of people didn't know why I left.
Mm-hmm.
And the few that knew my past started to say, oh, did she relapse? Or, oh, did she do this? And started saying some pretty, hurtful things that could have really derailed everything that I had been doing because, I think the human condition, if you don't understand, and this is what you know about someone, I think maybe it's easy to make that assumption. But again, it's an assumption. And it was an assumption that really could have hurt me in the process, especially when I was trying to find a different path or find a different road. And breaking through those people pleasing processes and then kind of getting another chance to kind of join into an institute, like a hospital profession, which was what I was wanting to do, was really neat. And I love to build programs, and I love to mentor, and I love to do all of those pieces, and I was getting to do a little bit of that. But what was happening in the background was I had put myself in with another leader who had those same tendencies. And, he's a new leader, but I will say he has a lot to learn in terms of what leadership is. But what I was noticing was that I was making myself small again and doing the people pleasing tendencies again. And I was quickly realizing that, much quicker than I did before. And I knew that, oh my God, I just made this jump. Everyone had a lot of questions about why I made the jump to start with. And now I'm wanting to jump again. And people are going to have their opinions about that or what have you. But I knew internally, this is not the fit. This is not going to be a fit. To me, I felt like I was placed in a corner, and I was told I need this, this, and this, and then you're going to take it and you're going to stamp your name on it. And I that does not sit well with me. And I worked too dang hard to have, someone kind of tell you to go sit in the corner and he'll take it from there. And I really struggled with that. So, one day I had enough. I reached out to a colleague and I got some things in motion. And now I'm in a place where my direct leader is so supportive. So supportive, so grateful for what I can bring to the organization. There's a trust there. Where he trusts what I'm doing. And there doesn't have to be any micromanagement there. And what else is amazing is I actually work remote now, which is, you can see my little home.
I love that for you. Yeah.
And at first I was a little nervous because, working from home is, you can either do it or you can't. There's no really in between there.
I have to be here. Yeah.
So I was nervous because I was going to lose that human connection. And what I realized kind of like moving through my career was, I like to, I don't know if you've heard of it, like a disc profile, but I'm an I, and I'm really extroverted when it comes to dealing with other people and that mentorship and just kind of working with others. So I was kind of nervous about that because this job is completely away from the eye. Over here. But it has allowed me to tap into things that were, especially with my focus, especially with time management and things like that. So I was able to kind of really beef up some things that may have been weaknesses for me. But what else is cool is that it has allowed me to be very flexible. And it has allowed me to probably take on more projects than I should. That's another thing I need to learn. But that's what's really just amped up like this last year of 2025 was I put myself out there. I wanted to start speaking in front of others because I still wanted to make change in some sort of way. I'm not over these students anymore. I cannot mold them. I cannot, teach them different things. I'm not working with people on the ambulance anymore where I can kind of not really necessarily confront, but maybe question or maybe give them a little bit more of understanding when it comes to, patients that are highly stigmatized against, which is a huge passion for me. And so I'm like, what other way can I do it? And so I wanted to just get up and talk in front of as many people as I could.
So
So I
let's put a
started
pin.
small.
Let's put a pin in that just a second, Liz. Because you're not just speaking, right? You're not just doing those small room engagements. You are going to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what a better example of someone that deserves and has earned that privilege and that right. Because to be a public speaker, it is, in my opinion, it is still a privilege. Like, we get to talk to the masses, we get to share, we get to teach. Um, but own that, like
Mm-hmm.
own how big your reach is, right? And so that's a lot of powerful stuff too, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember I was super terrified the first time I spoke, which was actually it was at the Kentucky Rural Health Symposium, and it was a bit of a smaller conference, which is
Yeah.
good because I was terrified. And I my first was eclipsing stigmas, so truly eclipsing the stigmas of those highly stigmatized patient populations, and I would not share anything about why it mattered to me the real, until the very end of the presentation, because it was almost like I wanted you to really hear what I have to say. And I want you to hold me in this other regard of this professional. And then at the end, I'm going to kind of strip that off, take my hat off and say, okay, this is why it is so important to me. And I would share just a little, just enough of what I was comfortable in sharing to say, oh, okay, that's I get it now. Like, that's a huge, powerful story, of your kindness and the words that you say and the tone that you have and the way you are just treating people like a human and not just a patient. There's a difference there. Was so impactful that it literally changed my entire trajectory of my life. I would not have even considered, when I was getting sober, that I wanted to change career paths. I had a business degree. I had nothing to do in the medical field up until that point. And it was so impactful. It was like, man, who was that? Who was that lady back there with me? Who was she? And like, why did her words matter in that moment to me?
Yeah.
Why was it so impactful, right? And it's like, okay, how can I do that? And that's really where it began. So I started small, and then I kind of reached out to a colleague, and I'm like, hey, I really want to get out more into this speaking space. And they said, you know what? There's a conference in Atlanta, and I can't be there, and I think you should take my spot. And I'm like, okay.
What the heck?
So I
What
did.
you asked for, right, Liz?
Yeah. So I did. I went there, and in conference speaking, if you are like on the last day at the last time slot, you're not going to get a big crowd. That's just how conferences go. It's usually like if you're the beginning slot on the first day, like you're going to have a large crowd, and So I had the last day, last spot. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm new, right? I had like 6 people sitting in this room. I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I absolutely, delivered Eclipsing Stigmas. And what was cool was a couple folks were actually part of the conference, like committee that was in there. Yeah. And they were so moved with what I had said. Well, I'll back up. Actually, one of them, we had a speaker dinner the night before. And one of them was like, oh, what are you talking about tomorrow? And I said, oh, I'm talking about, compassion for folks with highly stigmatized, issues like addiction, substance abuse disorder. And he said, so you're telling me I have to be nice to the crackheads? That's what he said. And I said, be there tomorrow, 4:30, room C. Just be there tomorrow. And that's where I left it. Yeah. Didn't say anything else. And so he came. And I promise you, he had a tear rolling down by the time we were done. And it was like, that's that's what it is. Like, that's it. Like, I don't want to preach to the choir, right? I want to find the ones that are so jaded, so burnt out, so like over it. I want them sitting in there because that's who needs to hear it. They need
So
to
the
hear
words
something real.
I got was to move the unmovable, right?
Yes.
So a person that has found complacement and man, okay, to move the
Yeah.
unmovable. And so,
Yeah.
to get that breakthrough, that's rewarding.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, yeah, there were 6 people in there, but it was like, it was the right people that needed to
Yeah.
be in there to hear it. And so it had moved him to the point where he went back to the guy that runs the show and was like, bring her back next year and she needs a full house.
Okay. And so then what
So,
happened?
so after that, I immediately got a text message from the guy who runs the conference. It was like, I have just heard nothing but amazing things. I really hope you come back next year, put this on your calendar. And I was like, absolutely. And because of that feedback, he had there's a little speaker presenter world out there that I didn't know existed until now, but there is, and they all talk, right? They all communicate with each other. So then before I knew it, I was submitting proposals to huge national conferences that I never thought I would get, and I was getting them. I mean, the National Association of EMS Educators put me down for a keynote, and I'm like, okay. Weird. EMS world's like, yes, come. And trust me, I've applied for there before and I didn't get in. There's thousands of submissions and they don't select that many. So it's really hard to be able to get there. And it was like I was getting these acceptances back to back and I'm like, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So I created another presentation. It was called The Great Affect. And what that was, because I was going to talk to educators, that was going to be my audience, was, okay, how can you curtail your programs to better help mold your students on that affective side? Affect is looking at their behavior and their communication and their empathy and their presence and their tone, all of those pieces that truly create the provider. And those are the things that those patients are going to remember. They're not going to remember if they, how great they started their IV or the fact that they grabbed, this or whatever. Most of the times it's going to be about how they felt, mm-hmm. right? How they were being treated in that moment. So I really just, I provided them tools of, you could do across the spectrum all the time. We are measuring this, we are looking at this, we are asking these questions, and we're going to also combat the big elephant in the room, which is the inevitable compassion fatigue, the inevitable burnout. This job's hard. You see traumatic things every single day. You have no way to process it. You have no way to, work through it. Everyone up until this point within EMS is like, we have to have this force field shield where we can't let any emotions in. And if you do, you're going to crumble. Like, mm-hmm. you just have to not let it affect you, and you just have to keep on moving. So and that's just the way it's been.
Rewind back a little bit to some of those key lessons in your journey. So you you chose to take the last day, the last time slot, and show up anyway. You showed up for the 6 people that showed up for you, and you did the damn thing as if it was the first day, the first time slot, packed house. So that no matter what attitude, really, there's something to say about that, right? There's something to say and honor the passion behind a no matter what attitude. And so realistically, even out of those 6 people, only, and I'm not saying you didn't touch the other 5, but you really touched one. Yep. One person, one connection that day by doing the damn thing. In my mind, doing what you're called to do, my heart. And because you've trusted some of these hard processes and you've shown up, now you're being allowed, you're being led to show up for many more, and in many more situations, not just many more people. Does that make sense?
Right.
But that's
Absolutely.
huge. That's huge.
Absolutely.
So
And that reminds me, actually one of the other five said, you know, she didn't act like there were 6 people in here. She acted like this was a full house when
yeah,
she delivered. And I'm like, yes, because my goal at the end of the day, and this is regardless of where I go or who I talk to or whatever, or who's sitting in there, if I can just affect one, my goal is just to affect one. If I get more, awesome. But if I can at least just get that one, then I've done something, right? Like I've made some sort of change somewhere. And that's what it's about.
And I know we're two totally different paths, I'll put it that way, is like as far as jobs or careers. But a lot of what you speak to, that speaks to us here as well, right? We may not see the physically traumatic, we may not see people completely in the ditches, and then sometimes we do and we don't even know it, right? Because we're not treating them any different than we're treating someone that's well coming in to spend time and to be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You see a lot of people that are spiritually bankrupt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in the world of EMS, it's physical. It is the physical realm of things. So spiritual, it's just as hard. I mean,
but like that speaks to me, and I appreciate seeing some of those messages about compassion, the fatigue, because there's some day, and I own this to, the fullest extent. There's some days where someone's up there having a conversation with one of the other ladies, and I just have to walk away, and I walk away, and then Carly will do the same thing. She'll be like, either I just need a second, or I don't have it in me today to give this person what they need, right?
Yeah. And that's okay, right? Like it's okay that we acknowledge the fact that this is occurring. It's almost like the first step is acknowledging that I need to take a step back.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure I'm good.
Well, then owning that, in my opinion, is better than doing the other person a disservice by not being that real, genuine compassion person. There's not many of those days, but there are days where, like you said, taking care of yourself. My last fuck to give, I need that today. Like that needs to be today, right? So I appreciate that, even on, and maybe that's something that we can have a conversation around, speaking to the practitioners here, because man, we get tired too, right?
I bet.
So,
yeah.
And then, so what are some more pieces of the puzzle along the way? Like, what have you picked up on mentally, emotionally, spiritually to kind of put more tools in your toolbox?
I notice when I'm off. I struggle with fatigue. I struggle with my temper is shorter than it usually is. I may be a little bit more snappy. Sometimes I get to a point where, even with speaking, it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot out of you to build a presentation, to create the outline, to create the flow, to create the words that you're going to speak. It takes a lot of work and rehearsal and things like that. And it's like, do I want to continue doing that? Right. It's another piece. I don't get paid for that. This is another piece that I'm doing. And sometimes I get to a point where I'm just like, oh my God, like I need to start shedding some things, I am sitting on committees and I'm handling a lot more than I probably should on these committees. And, with my work my work, the one that pays the bills, you know, and then with all these presentations, and I've started a nonprofit, and it's all these pieces sometimes hits at once. And then what I notice is I start moving further away from the things that bring me joy.
Yeah.
Because I'm so taxed on everything else. And then by the time I get through the end of the day and I leave this desk, there was nothing. There was nothing left in the tank. And then it almost just hits me out of nowhere. And it's like, well, Liz, when's the last time you meditated? Well, Liz, when's the last time you maybe had a good smudge session? Liz, when's the last time you've actually practiced some gratitude? You know, I mean, and what's funny
feel
is,
called out when you say those things.
you know, it's, and I was speaking to, you know, my therapist who, that's important too, right? You got to have somebody. And there's no shame there. I feel like a lot of people, especially in my world, there's almost like this weird shame thing with therapy. I'm like, absolutely not. Get you a therapist. But anyway, she said, you know, we're like finicky houseplants, right? And because she asked me she goes, well, have you eaten today? I was like, nope. Are you drinking enough water? Nope. Do you exercise? Nope. When's the last time you walked outside? I don't know. She's like, you know, we also need water, and we need food, and we need sunlight. She's like, at the end of the day, humans are just finicky little houseplants, and you have to give them what they need in order for them to thrive and survive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely. I mean, it's just funny. It's like, I know that, but it's like, I also can go through the whole day and it's 4:30 and I haven't had a bite to eat. I've only had coffee and I haven't, you know, stepped outside in days.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe that has something to do with
Maybe
the way
that's
you
why I'm
feel too.
cranky. And, you know, it takes a village for that reminder, you know, and so maybe you need to make some reminders of your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then not yell at those people that are reminding you, like, oh, you're crabby. I think you need some water. You know, have you eaten today, right? Those kinds of things. I feel like here in this shop, because we're all women here too, you know, that help keep this thing afloat. We call each other out at least daily, you know. And it's amazing and it's good to have those people. So a village needs to not just be about the people that uplift you, but you need those people that keep you in check too, right?
Yeah.
So super, super important for that.
Yeah.
So let's just wrap up a few things. So is there any last things you want to share? I'm curious now about your nonprofit because we've not gotten to hang out and catch up in a hot minute, like truly hang out and catch up in a hot minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's your nonprofit?
So the nonprofit's called Paramedic Pathways, and our goal is to provide educational scholarships for those going to paramedic school. And I'm not sure if I should share this yet. I actually just submitted a grant application to the Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission.
Yeah.
And we're wanting to provide scholarships, a lot of them.
So I want you to pause for just a second because we teach a lot about words. So your verbiage, let's go ahead and own the process, because if it's not this process, if it's not this grant this time, then it will happen. So now let's refresh and let's share. So what's going on? What's your nonprofit?
So it is Paramedic Pathways. Our goal is to provide educational scholarships to folks across Kentucky. We have a huge shortage right now of paramedics. You know, when you call 911, you may or may not get somebody that's going to come out there just because of how bad the shortage is. So myself and two others really banded together and was like, what can we do? And we have put together a really cool project that actually combats two of the passions. So paramedicine and my love for, you know, combating stigma. So we are wanting to partner with educational programs or training educational institutes, as we call them, or TEIs, of saying that you are an approved program, and you are an approved program because you have met these qualifications, meaning that you are focusing on affect, that you're embedding some sort of stigma reduction, some sort of harm reduction. And then we've also partnered with other facilities like Pinnacle Treatment Centers and Safe Spot and things like that to be able to really bring resources to these paramedic programs. So these students really have a well-rounded experience before they become providers. And this has been the project, and we are excited to see it flourish in 2026.
So what's the grant that you
The grant
applied
is
for?
through the Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission through the state.
Okay. And that's going to provide, when it happens, whether it's now or later, that's going to provide a lot of opportunities to lots of people, right?
Yeah. We are looking to do 30 full ride scholarships that branch from the entire state of Kentucky.
And
think about it. You know, it's not just this, yes, the students getting that tuition money, but where we've put so much work and effort and partnership with so many entities, everyone sitting in that classroom is going to get it too. So yes, you have the one, but you're affecting everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is so exciting to me that the things that I have been speaking about of what we should do is like a formidable action plan where it's going to take some legs.
So Liz talks about things she's going to do, right?
Yeah.
That no matter what, because you just said it for yourself. You've been talking about things you should do. We should do, we could do. But Liz, you're doing the damn things. Like, you know, that's important, right? Do the damn things. So I want to wrap just a couple more notes today that was so perfect, and I didn't even realize it until now, today, as you're talking. Yesterday, we have a lot of people in recovery that come in and cross our paths. Because a lot of recovery pushes them toward religion and church and places that there is a lot of that judgment, you know, associated. And then here they come in and they're not met with that same judgment. They're met with acceptance. And we're working through this and we're growing through this and we're doing the damn things. Yesterday, we had a friend, a client that came in, and she's been through it, like recovery multiple times. And she's, you know, shared that the thing that is different this time is that she visits us and that she has a place to be, even on her not great days. Yeah. And, you know, it's important to the masses that they know it's okay not to be okay. It's the people you surround yourself that won't let you sit in the shit, right? Like, okay, let's get up, let's clean it up, let's get it together, you can have your moment, but now we're moving on, right?
Yep.
And so it really does come full circle. And, you know, a lot of gratitude. And, you know, you talked about the things earlier. You're like, why do I continue to do the things? And then you hear something like that, you know, we get to connect. Sometimes we as humans don't realize how much we affect others, right? Because you and I share something in common. We are not seeking that attention, that good job, or, you know, whatever. It's great when we hear it, and, you know, it's important to share it when you know it's important to the other person. But if you do things out of love and out of affection and for the greater good and the higher power, no matter what, like, things just change.
That's right.
It was really, yeah. So anyway, I'm just excited. I'm glad you made time for us today. And I appreciate like all the things. I appreciate, you know, you working through technology difficulties this morning, as I am not fond of technology, but I appreciate it. Is there any last little tidbits you want to share while we're on? Any secrets or snippets that kind of got you through some of those transitional periods?
I think that it's just important to know that things in life come in waves, right? we're on a high some days, we're doing the thing, we got it, and then sometimes it stops and there's a lesson to be learned. I think just know that, just remember it is just a phase, and you will come back the other direction, or you'll go into a new direction. Whatever that is, nothing's ever stays that way for long. It will always change. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and really think, okay, what is this teaching me? What options do I have? Am I going to do it or no? Am I going to shit or get off the pot? Am I going to change? Am I going to do these things? I say sometimes too of, not every day you're going to wake up feeling happy and amazing and, powerful and all of it. Some days you just wake up and you're like, I just need to get through the things that I need to get through. And then I'm going to get on my couch and I'm going to watch TV and I'm going to hold my cat. That's what I'm going to do. And sometimes that's okay too. Not every day you have to feel that crazy, happy, wonderful energy. Some days you're not going to have that, but know that there's another happy day going to come as well. Nothing ever stays for long. And I think it's important, especially as we go into winter, which I always struggle with seasonal depression. Just it's good to know that not every day is going to feel, you're going to feel amazing, but those days will come.
So maybe consider switching out some light bulbs, right? Maybe taking away some of those LEDs and finding yourself some full spectrum light. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, light is energy as well. I mean,
we're plants. We're finicky house plants.
So chase the grow lights. And then, there's times, the truth, I know we're supposed to be saying goodbye. I can't talk. But as you're talking, I'm reminded too that some of these highs and lows, we start to recognize as cycles, and we're like, holy fuck, I've got to do this lesson again. Like, what did I not get out of it the first time, And so the wheel, the wheel card, Wheel of Fortune came into view there as I was speaking that. So, but anyway, so we're going to wrap this up. I'm just going to say thank you. How can people find you really quickly?
So I'm on Facebook, Liz Harney. I post, where I'm going to be in terms of presentations or conferences and things like that. If anyone ever wants to come hear me speak, I'm also on Instagram, Liz Beth Jade. And then,
But having nonprofit, where are we going to find information?
Oh, yes. So, Paramedic Pathways.org is where you can go learn more and donate. Yes. We like money.
So perhaps you can consider, when you have time, what literature you can bring to the shop and how we can help support and spread that mission too.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're getting off, Liz. I appreciate you.
Right, guys. So that wraps up another episode of Without a Candle with Carly and Carla. We appreciate you, and
We'll see you next time.